Hi guys, welcome to my channel. First of all, I want to thank you guys for being so flexible with me. I just couldn't get my planned video out this week. I wanted to do my drawing in different styles, but I just couldn't get it to work and I wasn't happy with the product. I don't like to post anything on my channel that I'm not proud of. And it wasn't worth posting. The product wasn't up to my usual standards. Part of it was probably the fact that I'm not feeling great lately. Yeah, with my art. I just wasn't feeling like drawing at the moment when I was drawing it. And I'm ever thankful that you guys have been ever so flexible with me. I will get that video out. It just might take a little longer than normal. Instead of that video being posted, though, I'm posting this video, talking about Wings of Fire villains. This was seen as my poll, and although this wasn't the most liked option, no, it is my favorite option out of the ones, and it was well received, even though it wasn't the best. I will still be talking about ships, just at a later date. Anyway, let's hop right into things. In this section, I'm going to be talking about the three sisters, Blister, Blaze, and Burn. As a trio, I think it's really cool that they represented beauty, brains, and bronze. And overall, I don't have a lot of strong emotions towards them. I think Blister's a little creepy with her house of weirdness. Because imagine going up to somebody's house and being like, ho ho ho, this is my taxidermied human. A lot of people would be freaked out by that, so that's kind of creepy. Burn, I don't have any strong emotions or opinions on at all. I feel like she didn't really get fleshed out very well. And Blaze, she was funny. I love Blaze as a character. She's very funny, just because she's stupid. Especially things like, oh, Glorious Gales would make a wonderful, cape. Immediately gets attacked after that. It was a comedic moment, in my opinion. But overall, as they were great characters for Arc 1 villains, I wouldn't have any other villains. I just don't have any strong opinions on them. Moving on to Scarlet. Scarlet, I'm going to be talking about that. Even though she appeared in both arcs, I am going to talk about her here because this is her first appearance. I think Scarlet in the first book was a great antagonist. She didn't have any reason to be evil. She didn't want to keep the throne. She didn't have a tragic backstory. She was evil because she wanted to be evil. Sunday cartoon kind of evil. And I think sometimes Wings of Fire could use that. Because as much as we have characters that have tragic backstories or, reasons, although terrible as they are, we don't really have all that many characters that are evil for the sake of evil. Scarlet fills that role perfectly. Especially with the, hello children, time to be kidnapped, and forced to fight an arena part. I think she started off basically a joke in the first arc, and I think that it was a great decision to have her come back in the second arc, much stronger, and basically a psychopath. She had her reasons to be evil now, but those reasons were still very funny. She kept her vain cartoon kind of villainesque, but she moved up to being more powerful and an actual threat, which was really cool. I do have my gripes with the first book, but that's not for us to discuss today. Moroseer, in my opinion, was an underused character. He was set up to be this ominous threat, maybe even from the shadows, even if he didn't do much, but I can count on one hand all the things he did within 5 books. He showed up, and threatened the Dragonettes. He sent Deathbringer after them. And then he got angry when they found out the prophecy was fake. I mean, like, I guess he also saved Starflight from the arena, but that's not much. That's literally him showing up less than one time in every book. That's so underused. And I feel like he could have been much more. His character was barely fleshed out. And I can see what Toei was going for. An ominous threat, Nightwing style, mysterious, but I just don't think it worked out. Moving on to Arc 2 villains. Let's start off with Chameleon. Chameleon is stupid. Either this was how he was meant to be written, or the writers just didn't do a good job. So, what was Chameleon's goal? Well, first we start off where he came from. He was upset because everyone was being absolutely horrid to him because he couldn't change his scale color because of a deformation with his snout. He has magic that can do absolutely anything. And he doesn't fix his snout or make it so he can change his scale color. And I'm not saying he couldn't have done what he did, but there was such a simple solution that he didn't take. And this is my biggest gripe with Chameleon. He's a character that is really well written except for this plot point. And I can't get over it. It was so jarring for me to find out that, the whole scale thing didn't turn out to be that important to him. Now, let's contrast this with another Arc 2 villain, Vulture. He had a goal, he knew how to get it, and he did it. He didn't care that he was being evil. He didn't care about anything. He wanted something, he was going to get that something. And I think he was a very well-written character, one of the better villains, even if he showed up for only a short period of time. He served his exact goal, to be an obstacle for Qibli. And I don't get why he's such a good character in my eyes. Because there isn't really anything that he did that was particularly well written or particularly not well written. He served his purpose, he didn't overstay his welcome. And overall, I think a lot of characters struggle with some of the things that he doesn't. For example, I feel like their line to getting something isn't always the most logical, and with a lot of characters, this doesn't matter. For example, Scarlet. Her thinking doesn't have to be logical because the whole point of her is that she's a little bonkers. But some characters that are supposed to be logical just don't seem to have a straightforward thought process. Like Chameleon. After all that ranting, let's move on to my favorite villain in all of Wings of Fire, Darkstalker. Darkstalker was an amazing villain. He was able to go with a semi-redemption arc through the reincarnation, I guess is what we'll call it. He had a tragic backstory that didn't excuse his actions, which is one thing I really like. A lot of tragic backstories are set in the light that they are supposed to excuse the actions that the villain makes. And I don't always like that. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it is an excuse for a redemption arc. This was a tragic backstory where the semi-redemption arc felt like a normal progression. He wasn't evil, all of a sudden change of heart. He was evil until the end. He was forced to be reincarnated, basically. I think his story plot was very well. He went from being a dragonet that was kind and caring about the people he loved, like his sister in Clearsight. But that quickly got out of hand, where he was a lot like his father in a lot of senses. Although he started off nice to Clearsight, that wasn't how it ended. And I really do think that he could have had a chance to be good if he had grown up in a better living environment. Now, I'm not saying that what he did was excusable. Well, I think he had the possibility to be evil no matter where he grew up, but I think his home life really did influence the way he went. But as the story points out, even when he first was hatched, he had thoughts that were unkind. He didn't want to share his power with his sister. He didn't care as much. It kind of shows that a lot of his kindness was more of a facade. Although I do think a lot of it was true kindness at the beginning, when he was younger, I think it was more because people were doing what he wanted. He was kind to them because he was getting what he wanted. He is the best written villain in all of the series. And I think getting the Darkstalker Legends book really helped to improve his character. I think without that book, with the backstory and influence, the reincarnation would be a Chekhov's gun to redeeming a character. There are right ways to redeem a character, there are wrong ways. The semi-redemption route that they took with Darkstalker makes a lot more sense when you know where he's coming from. For an example of a character that was redeemed, let's take a look at Deathbringer. He started off as an antagonist, although quickly changed sides. It felt natural for his character. But there are characters that you just wouldn't expect to see a redemption arc. For example, you wouldn't expect Blister to just become a good character. It doesn't make sense. Which is why I think Darkstalker really pulls it off very well. It makes sense for his character. And if they handled it differently, they probably would have just made Darkstalker fully redeemed and take that choice by himself. But I think having him not really improves the character. It improves his character to not want to change. He didn't want to be saved. And I think that really lends to how great of a character he is. I think that overall, Arc 2 had some of the best villains and some of the worst. But I think the best villain, aka Darkstalker, really carried it. It's one of my favorite arcs, and I think as Wings of Fire goes on, personally, I think the arcs get better and better. Although Arc 2 is my favorite. Arc 1 is my least favorite, but I don't think it could have ever been my favorite due to, you gotta start somewhere with world building. So overall, Arc 2, because of its villains, becomes my favorite. Let's talk about Arc 3 villains. Queen Wasp was a great villain. She was evil for the sake of evil, and she really felt like she was supposed to be the big main threat, which is why I think she worked so well. A lot of books that are supposed to have pawns that are meant to be the big bad threat but really aren't, get easier and easier to tell that that's not what's going on as the book goes on. They want the characters to figure it out very quickly, and I feel like it's revealed far too soon. In some books, it's good to have the readers follow along and figure it out with you, but sometimes It's just better to have it be a shock, and I think this was one of the situations where that was the case. Overall, she appeared, she was menacing, but I don't have many other strong thoughts other than that. She was a great villain, and I'd put her up there here at top-ranking villains. Although probably not the best, she was definitely one of the better ones. Hawkthorne, he served his purpose. He was there. He was good. Not much to say about him. He existed. He was cool, I guess. But he didn't really show up very much. I don't think they should have written him any differently. I just don't have any strong emotions towards him. And finally, Cottonmouth. He does exactly what he needs to do. He makes you hate him. There are villains that you love to hate. There are villains that you just straight out love. Cottonmouth makes you hate him. Easily. He is a vile, disgusting human being of a character. And he is perfect for that. I don't think they could have written him any better to be such a jerk and a horrid person. I think it could have been nice if they had a little bit more time, and I feel like this arc was a little rushed towards the end, but I don't think that subtracts from how good it was. Sure, it was a little abrupt, but I don't think it needed a whole nother book. I think they could have just added a couple more pages to every book and had made it work. Maybe a bit more lore on the humans as we went along to have given us hints towards him existing. I wish we had a little bit more time to spend with this wretched character to really hate him more, because he does kind of come out of nowhere just a bit. And I think a good way to write this, in hindsight now, is to have another Legends book that follows Freedom in her life. I think that would be a great way to fix this. Even if you don't have another Legends book that follows specifically Freedom, I think a book that kind of touches on Cottonmouth and Freedom a bit more is warranted, because I think everyone can agree that Freedom is a great character and that you would die for her because she is adorable. She is baby. Overall, those were my thoughts on Wings of Fire villains. I know this video is a bit longer than normal, but I wanted to make something a little longer since I wasn't able to create the video I wanted to in the first place. I actually really enjoyed drawing Blaze. I wanted to go with a more traditional graphic novel version of her for this, to stay true to talking about stuff. But I will also post a picture of my design of her up on my community post sometime in an upcoming week, probably. Might be a little longer. It might already be there. So, but it will be posted, and you should be on the lookout for that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below who your favorite and least favorite villains are, and why. I'd love to hear your opinions. So, next week, I will be doing a collab, and you'll just have to wait and see what happens then. I cannot wait. It's going to be great. Anyway, see you next time, guys. Bye!